The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 24 of the Finding Florida podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, Communities in Quarantine.
On this episode, we are starting with some quick coverage from Glenn on the impact of coronavirus on Florida's number one industry, travel and tourism, for a travel tips segment. Then we chat with Ari Glassman from My Fort Lauderdale Beach.com about how their community built on everything but social distancing is coping while cooped up and also reconfiguring access to their local restaurants and farmers market during this quarantine shut-in. And we'll also revisit some listener favorites, Hero of the Month, Florida Foods and Feel Goods, and Florida or Not. Listen in.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jemmy and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
Well, I guess the first thing we should do on our corona coverage here for tourism in Florida is talk about how it's affecting Florida and tourism. And the Florida Tourist Bureau, Visit Florida, put out some information and some charts, which were not necessarily the easiest to read, but I kind of dove through them. I've been reading a lot of charts and all this coverage, so I kind of figured it out. Here are the highlights.
Corporate eggheads don't make like viewer-friendly charts?
No, they don't. So none of this is going to be a shock. There is no tourism in Florida right now.
The only thing getting around is coronavirus.
Exactly. Hotels started taking a hit in the middle of February, which is about the time we were finishing up the last conference ever to happen in Florida, a PodFest, the one we were at. And as of March 15th, down 60%. Now, my guess is that by now, which is 15 days after that, we're down 99%. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think because I wonder like how quickly these numbers were able to be updated with every single step because things change so often. And just going to like a mandatory closure, I mean, I don't know. It's got to be like 99%. Yeah.
And our guest later in the day is going to give us an idea of really how much that has affected the real touristy spots. Coming up, and it's immense. You know, they're closing a lot of them, and we'll talk about that a little later.
I think we're calling that segment bikini coverage.
Vacation rentals, big surprise, are down 91%. So I'm figuring that 9% didn't have anywhere else to go, and they're just living in their vacation rentals, exactly. Or they're New Yorkers that came down.
Got stuck.
Yeah, I think they're New Yorkers that came down. Also, the Wall Street Journal reports that major U.S. airlines are making plans for a near inevitable shutdown of domestic flights across the nation. So if the president's not going to do it, they're looking at doing it. One of our hosts on the Horse Radio Network, husband's an airline pilot, and he flew 2 days ago.
Really,
and
Chad?
There were 40 people on the plane.
Oh, my goodness.
And he said the airport was completely empty.
I mean, at that point, you got to just celebrate as one of those 40 because then you kind of feel like it's your own private jet. And if they only knew the credentials of that pilot, because I know, Chad, if only they knew the credentials, they would feel even extra cool. Wow, we got flown around by that guy.
You don't have any problem distancing because
exactly, you can actually spread out. Once it hits 40, I think everything is all good. They can continue flights at that rate, right?
No, they're losing a ton of money.
No.
But I wondered why the president hadn't closed the airlines at this point, just to stop the spread, stop people from moving around.
I know.
And I looked into that today, and the reason is that domestic airline flights carry a large bulk of the United States mail around the country.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's a lot of stuff that goes in the belly of the plane as part of what just keeps our country and our society just running, like just basic stuff. So I kind of get that. Yeah, it's not just all about like Amazon and FedEx. It's like every domestic airline helps out with that load too.
So yeah, that's why that hasn't happened yet, and it kind of makes sense. By the way, everything we just told you about, all those numbers will change tomorrow.
So they've already changed by the time we've edited this and put it out. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
But someone who hasn't changed and is just as awesome as ever is Ari Glassman, and she's from My Fort Lauderdale Beach, which is an amazing organization that actually helped us out on a previous episode of Finding Florida. Yeah, back when I got my eyeballs sucked and Glenn got a pedicure. Yeah, you got to rewind and just look it up. You'll see it. But this is Ari Glassman, and she joins us today to talk about what they're doing in Fort Lauderdale for the coronavirus quarantine. Well, if you rewind back to our 8th adventure, back when we were allowed out of the house, we got to check out the fancy in Fort Lauderdale, and a very special woman helped us out with like pretty much everything we did on that trip that day. Her name is Ari Glassman, and she's from myfortlauderdalebeach.com, and she is a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she's done so much to enliven the community in that neck of the woods, that there in Hollywood, so in the Broward area of things. So to see what's going on right now, we just had to talk to her. So hello, Ari. How's it going?
I'm great, Demi. How are you? And hi, Glenn. It's
What else you to say?
That's been my favorite term this whole time is ugh. Ugh has been the one I've been saying over and over and over again.
Exactly.
I think we're all trying to find the word to sum it up, and there really is no one word to do it. Other than, and everybody keeps, this is the new norm. Well, we really don't want this to be the new norm. We want a different norm.
A temporary normal.
Yes, a temporary norm. But I think we're all taking it in stride and realize what we have to do.
Yes.
And, really respecting, from our president to our governor to our local, city officials, that we just need to follow the rules. We need to go back to when we were kids and not ask questions.
And it's so hard.
Do what we are told.
It's so hard. It feels so weird. I don't know about you, but this social distancing, especially the first few days, I'd be walking down the street or, down the walkway as I'm taking my morning walks or whatever. And then I'm purposely avoiding people by 6 feet. And that initial reaction is that you feel like you're being rude. And I'm like, but I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to follow the rules. But it's so weird.
It is for myself, but more so for our Fort Lauderdale Beach community, which is made up of the hospitality industry and shops and, and events. We're not about social distancing. We are about welcoming everybody. And we're, there with a handshake and a hug and a kiss. And this is really so against what is kind of like in our DNA to do, in welcoming our locals and welcoming our visitors to our area. So, on that point, you feel it twice.
And I'm just happy to see and hear you so upbeat through all this, because you're such a social butterfly. And as you were saying before we started recording here, that you've been, self-isolating since for over 2 weeks now, for about 3 weeks, going on 4, just about. So, this has really impacted you on every side of it. So tell us how, as far as My Fort Lauderdale Beach is concerned, how is the community pulling together? How are you reorganizing some things? Or have you just kind of thrown everything in the air and said, you know what, we're just going to ride this thing out? What are you guys doing?
Well, I have to say, and I'm so happy that you and Glenn had an opportunity to come down and visit our businesses. And I think that you would say the same thing. We are an extremely tight business community. There are no competitors in our industry, and we are all there to support one another. And when, it started trickling down, that was the first thing out of all of us. Okay, we are all in this together. It wasn't about us as individuals or the individual businesses. And so through our myfortlauderdalebeach.com website, which is the portal website for all of Fort Lauderdale Beach, we knew right away that we were going to put up information of what restaurants and hotels and shops were going to be doing, who was going to be open, who was going to be doing, changing their model to just going to delivery, as the hotels started shifting out their guests to just essential workers. Some of them have actually just suspended operations. Different attractions that were able to still accept guests, like our fishing charters. People wanted to go out and they wanted to still experience things. Some people couldn't leave right away and they still wanted things to do. So we really were able to jump on that onto the myfortlauderdalebeach.com site. And it was just sending out an email and saying, okay, send it all in. And within hours, everyone was pouring in and they're still keeping up. We had started, we have been doing a concert series for the last 5 years. And this year we actually incorporated a farmer's market. We opened up a beautiful new park on Fort Lauderdale Beach called Las Olas Oceanside Park. And so we got with our vendors from our farmer's market. We've got an online virtual farmer's market that people can now, go to if they were looking for just their favorite produce or baked goods, or maybe they.
I need to go there. It's getting hard to
anything.
find vegetables here in Ocala, so I need to go there.
Well, it's really wonderful, and you can shop them online now. And we've taken our concerts and we're putting them online now, and we're doing Facebook Live Friday concerts. So we've really wanted to make this seem as normal, of an everyday thing being not normal, and people still having opportunities to visit their favorite restaurants through takeout, or experience their Friday night concerts online, or have their produce not picked up at the farmer's market at the park, but delivered to them at their home. So we are, besides just being a very tight business community, a very, very tight community. And I think that's even more so now. And I think other communities are seeing this as well. Everybody's coming together, even if we're standing 6 feet apart. there's still, you want to talk to people, you want to connect. And that's what we're trying to do in the only means, that we have right now.
Is there concerns? Is there talk? I mean, obviously, especially restaurants are always running on a thin edge anyway. They have low margins and, they come and go as it is. Is there concern that you're going to lose a certain percentage of businesses, the smaller hotels and restaurants that just aren't going to be able to weather this, especially if it goes a couple more months?
I think it's something on everybody's mind. And, it's from the large corporate hotel, corporately owned hotels, all the way down to the mom and pops. But this is nothing different than any other city, any other
community. The world.
Exactly. Yeah. And, it'll all play out. It's sad to see. We personally, we all personally know one another. So that's hard to watch. Mm-hmm. But then there's also all of these people that are working for these, businesses, and, watching them go through. So, when we talk about the numbers of employees that have been displaced that just work in Fort Lauderdale Beach hotels and restaurants and attractions and shops, you're talking over 50,000 people.
Whoa.
Wow.
And that's in a beach, that's in one beach. Hotels are employing 500 people between all of the different departments apiece, and restaurants, 50 to 60 people. This is not a small number.
I mean, before they closed the beaches officially, I mean, was it kind of a strange, it must have been such a bizarre atmosphere when you talk about Fort Lauderdale Beach being this place that really is great at welcoming visitors and tourists and travelers, and, whether you like it or not, it's a spring break destination, all this stuff. But at the same time, there must have been a part of the local community that was looking at the visitors for the first time in a while and saying, please go home, go home right now, just temporarily go home.
you've seen it on, I mean, and it's national news, and now, and it's global news because it's online as well. Now everybody sees about it. It's scary to think that. And yes, I mean, at some point you were just saying, please be responsible. Go home to your parents, make sure that you're okay. Go be safe yourself. I think it's funny, because we do so much online and through social media, I saw a bartender post, being a bartender during spring break, during COVID is like the musicians on the Titanic that kept playing while it was sinking. And
wow, that gave me chills when you just used that analogy.
Yeah.
When she, to see it there, and it's true, that all of this is going on. And at the same time, everything transpired so quickly during the time when we were really busy, as a destination. I mean, not just from the college students, but this is spring break time for a lot of people. This is when a lot of the corporate groups come down, and the ripple effect of it were, you've got large conventions that are coming down here that had to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
And then that rippled out into, the hotels with the room nights and the banquets with that, and then all of the providers for this. So, but yes, even on that side, beyond the kids, beyond the students, you did want to say, we don't want you right now. And that's hard.
It is a hard one.
Well, I'm happy to report that people are listening. I've just been going through the webcams that are live on the beach there all over Fort Lauderdale and in the parks. And I have witnessed seagulls on the beach violating the rules, but that's about it. That's all I see is some seagulls violating the rules.
Well, don't make out with any of them, Glenn. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Exactly. I'll tell you something. Our city commission, our mayor, our commissioners, our police department, our hospital workers have all been exemplary. People, it's very easy to point a finger, and and you see a lot of back and forth about, this isn't right or this, but nobody stepped in. Nobody signed up for this job with this in mind of something that was going to happen. And we've certainly had our share of things about Fort Lauderdale, in the news of late, but they have, and I'll call them out, Mayor Trentalis and Commissioner Glassman and Sorensen and Moritas and McKinsey, they have been exemplary. It's a thankless job until you realize that you really do need to thank them for being out there and making sure that the rest of us are taken care of and have the right information.
So where can people who are local to the Fort Lauderdale Beach community find the information that you guys can provide?
So our website is my FortLauderdaleBeach.com. It's right up on the homepage. You're going to see the information and a link to the businesses that are open and closed and just updates. And that gets updated as every time we get new information. So as much real time as we can provide. There's also links there to our virtual farmers market, for our Friday concerts. From those pages, there's also information to go to our city, our county, and national CDC website to see about the different areas and things that are going on. But sunny.org is our Convention and Visitors Bureau website. They also have lots of great resources and tools and some fun things to do. We've really put together this whole campaign around the virtual vacation. So if you're sitting at home and sad because you can't take your spring vacation and do the things you would. There's all different ways to take a virtual vacation. You can see that on our Facebook pages, on the My Fort Lauderdale Beach Facebook page, on the Visit Lauderdale Facebook page. There's just some really fun things to do. We still want to welcome everybody to our shore. We just can't do it in person right now.
Yeah.
But we'd love you to be able to take a vacation with us. You certainly have a lot of time on your hands.
We're actually going to be covering virtual.
You don't have to get a plane ticket.
Yeah, we're actually going to be speaking about virtual vacations on the next episode. So that's a perfect little lead in for that.
Well, so I have a proposal, Jemmy, when we finally get to doing real adventures where we actually get to leave the house again, I think we should need to go back to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, absolutely. You need another pedicure, my friend. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to those Finding Florida episodes, and you're going to see pictures of Glenn getting his feet worked on by a very brave woman. And also the links that Ari just mentioned, not only will those be in the show notes as well, but they are also part of a list that I'm curating on floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus for links and resources local to you. You can go on there, and I actually have both the links from sunny.org and from myfortlauderdalebeach.com up on that list under Broward County, so you can find those there as well. But Ari, thank you so much for taking so much, valuable time out of your quarantine routine to speak to us. Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. But if there's anybody whose hands it can be entrusted to bring My Fort Lauderdale Beach back to its fun time, full glory, it's you. So can't wait to see you on the other side of this. Thank you so much. And what's that website one more time?
myfortlauderdalebeach.com.
Thank you, Ari.
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Jemmy. Thanks, Glenn. You take care.
This month's hero. So things are moving so fast with this, and I have someone I need to tell you about. But to set the stage, this story from WPTV broke just days before there was anything mandatory required. And you know what I mean once you hear the clip. Go ahead and play that clip, please, Glenn.
A Delray Beach restaurant made a tough decision to close for the next month, a move that's leaving some people without work for several weeks. WPTV South County reporter Miranda Christian, how the owner is really easing some of the stress while they're closed.
Over 24 employees at Death or Glory are now without a job for the next 30 days, but the owner says she's doing something to help them out.
This is really scary.
Annie Blake says closing Death or Glory in Delray Beach for 30 days was the hardest decision she has ever made.
I tell you, I wish we were talking about Halloween decorations or summer cocktails.
She says telling the 25 full-time workers was tough.
To have to say thank you, you guys have done an amazing job, and now none of you have one. It was really painful.
Difficult. It's really upsetting.
Server Ashley Amon says she agrees with Blake's decision, but it's a scary one.
I don't think any of us knows what's going to happen the next week, 2 weeks.
Blake and her business partner want to help take care of their Death and Glory family in this frightening time.
Anyone who works here can give us a copy of their lease, and up to $1,000 will pay their rent for April.
That's $25,000 from their own pockets to help ease anyone's struggles.
How do you feel? Anything except extreme gratitude. It's an amazing thing, and it shows how much they care about us.
That $1,000 will go a long way in the next month for Amon.
And you just hope that other people are taking care of their employees as well as they are taking care of us.
Blake is hoping others follow their lead to voluntarily close to avoid even more loss.
My hope is if we close for a month, then we don't have to close for 6.
In Delray Beach, I'm Miranda Christian, WPTV News Channel 5.
Me too, lady. Me too.
That was pretty amazing. $25,000 out of their own pocket to support their workers when they didn't have to do that. That, to me, is amazing.
Thankfully, there are those companies out there because they're going to be also the ones that I think are going to be rewarded when it comes back to life.
Oh, big time. In fact, I saw this story because a friend of mine posted it on Facebook, and he said something like, I know exactly where I'm going to be eating as soon as they open up. Like, that's, and it's not like they did it to get that recognition at the other side of it. But I mean, that's
they
karma.
were just doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's karma. But look out for those kind of stories. We're going to bring you as many as we can because, on the other side of this, and there will be another side of this, we will be resilient, and we definitely want to show some love to those of us in those businesses in our community who have really been there for us. So if you're inspired to be a hero through all of this too, well, we found one way that you can help. So prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, 1 in 3 families in the U.S. could not afford diapers for their kids. Oh, it's so sad. So that need obviously has greatly increased due to the pandemic. So the Junior League of Boca Raton is seeking help. And they're seeking help from you, me, and everybody else who's listening to donate diapers to its diaper bank. So if you can help, please email community@jlbr.org. That's community@jlbr.org. And someone can pick up the diapers or use the Junior League's Amazon wish list and have diapers shipped directly to the organization's headquarters. The link for that wish list will be in our show notes as well. So there's so many different ways we can help. If you have any ways that you have heard that we can get the word out for other people to help as well, please email me, jaime@floridapodcastnetwork.com, and we'll share it right here on the show.
So good and tasty. So good. Oh, God, it's so good. Tastes good.
Well, so as you just heard, there are a lot of people who are losing their jobs, and some businesses are able to step up and some, unfortunately aren't. But some industries are actually hiring because of this pandemic, including food delivery. And Tampa Bay is doing something pretty cool. So Visit Tampa Bay recently launched this information hub for restaurant takeout services. And I just wanted to make everybody in that area aware. It's called Dining at a Distance, and it's been developed in response specifically to COVID-19 to help the community be able to get their food that they need, be able to help the restaurants and those businesses stay around through all of this and survive. So I think it's really a cool initiative that Tampa Bay is doing. So you can go to Visit Tampa Bay's website and find out more information if you're in that area and want to be able to dine at a distance as we practice social distancing over here. And we'll also include a link in our show notes. And by the way, you can also find this link along with a lot more resources. We're collecting as many as we can for all of you out there throughout Florida. And you can find links to different resources that are anywhere from staying safe and healthy through all of this, resources that you can just get on with like everyday normalcy, like dining at a distance, and fun things that you can actually do inside your home, ideas for inside. So fun things that you can do as grown-ups, that the kids can do, or things you can do for a family. We're putting all those resources right there on floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus. It can be your hub through all of this. And while you're there, also join us on Facebook through the FPN Insiders group. We're going to get together and have a lot of fun. Again, that webpage is floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus. Your friends at the Florida Podcast Network want to use our platform to keep us all informed and connected. And while these conversations are greatly needed right now, and we hope they are helping you get through this trying time, we are podcast hosts, not experts in coronavirus or any other kind of medical issue. Please consult and follow the CDC's guidelines at cdc.gov. That's cdc.gov. Then please visit floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus for some additional resources and ways to connect to your local community. With social distancing being our call to arms, we need to feel more connected than ever. So by visiting floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus, you will help us all get through this with additional resources and ways to connect. Stay safe and healthy, and wash those hands. All right, time for one of my favorite segments, Florida or not. Let me tell you, it's been a while since we've done one of these episodes, and oh my gosh, I'm so giddy. I'm so excited. Well, this time around, I'm going to share 3 stories with you, Glenn. There is a coronavirus theme with all of them. Hopefully this is the closest you get to catching anything coronavirus related, but this is the coronavirus theme through all of them. And you're going to have to tell me if they were from Florida or not. So we'll go one by one, and you as a listener can play along. I'll pretty much let each one speak for itself. Go ahead and play the first clip for story 1, Glenn.
To limit social gatherings. A pastor held crowded services yesterday, and today he ended up behind bars briefly. Justin Shecker has the story.
Good evening. The pastor posted his bond in County. It was only $500 because he's charged with 2 misdemeanors. The sheriff says he hopes this arrest will serve as a deterrent to stop any more large religious gatherings during the coronavirus pandemic.
His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk, and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger.
The live stream of the Sunday morning service showed the church packed with hundreds of parishioners. Hours later, car after car returned to the church for evening prayer.
Shame on this pastor, their legal staff, and the leaders of this church for forcing us to do our job.
Okay, now you got to click and open up that headshot and see what this guy looks like, Glenn.
Oh, yeah, it's just what I pictured.
All right. Time to guess. What you think? Florida or not?
I know this one.
You do?
I'm following this story.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well, tell the people.
Well, you have to remember I'm doing nightly coverage on Horse Radio Network for Corona.
That's
so
right. You
reading...
have an unfair advantage.
So this guy was in Tampa, and it was just ridiculous. And the story hit when he actually did the service, and then the big story was when he got arrested after. Now, if I was in court arguing this, let's go to court, okay, Jemmy? You and I are in court, and I'm representing them, okay?
Okay.
Okay. My religious beliefs are I can go do whatever I want whenever I want. Plus, I'm probably preaching in that case that we're coming into Revelations and the end of the world, so we all should be getting together and praying. So you're going to argue with me about that in court, there, Jemmy?
Absolutely, because it's about public health. Sit down and shut up by yourself, 6 feet away from everybody else.
By the way, we're both religious, so it's not like that we're against religion.
And my church is doing it online. That's right.
Yep. I wonder what their attendance is.
I don't know. I could ask and find out. But my favorite part of like literally that entire story is the fact that you're right. The bleeping made it sound like they were like cursing out this pastor.
A pastor held crowded services yesterday.
What a jackass pastor. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay. Story number 2. So there's no audio on this one, sadly, but there is a sweet headshot that I'm going to have you open up after you hear some details, Glenn. So a woman claiming to have the coronavirus, I hope this is one you haven't heard before, but a woman named LaDonald Holmes, I still don't know if that's her first name or the first half of her last name, but whatever. LaDonald Holmes, 38. She was laying in bed with her boyfriend early Wednesday morning at home. So she was in the mood. She was feeling a certain kind of way, and she really wanted to get it on, right? But he didn't want to. Any ideas why he didn't want to get it on?
Because she was coughing and hacking and had a fever?
You would think that would be apropos for the coronavirus theme. But no, just the small reason that she was planning to get back together with her ex-husband. So he's like, thanks, but no thanks. So naturally, when she was in the mood and being denied, what do you think her reaction was?
Oh, if it's Florida, she stabbed him.
That is a big if, because we don't know if it's Florida or not. But I'll tell you what, she got very agitated. Like literally, that's what it says in the report. Very agitated. And roundhouse kicked her boyfriend in the nose.
Wow, she's got a good reach.
Oh, she's not done. Then she followed it up with a punch, therefore breaking his nose. Oh, by the way, did I forget to mention that the report also noted that, she's a black belt in martial arts. Small little detail. Ooh. Did I forget to mention that? Yeah. So what would you do if you were the boyfriend, Glenn?
I would even never come back.
Yay! Ding, ding, ding! He fled. Yes, the boyfriend fled and called 911. So when deputies arrived on the scene, Holmes was still laying in bed. I don't know if she was still in the mood or not, but she was still laying in bed. And when they attempted to arrest her, she repeatedly fell to the ground. So they were concerned that she may have been suffering a medical issue. So they summoned EMS to the scene. All I can say is poor paramedic, because just when a paramedic thinks that their job can't get any worse during a pandemic, they meet Mrs. Holmes. And so while attempting to secure her to the stretcher, what do you think she did?
Oh, she took off all her clothes.
You wish. No, she coughed in the paramedic's face and shouted, "I have coronavirus."
Oh, this has to be Florida.
And the deputy actually noted in the report, because the Times be the Times, noted copious amounts of saliva landing on the paramedic's face. That poor. Now, you remember, I was an EMT in college, so this hits really close to home. But yeah, she was arrested, charged with felony battery and battery on a paramedic, transported to the hospital for evaluation, medically cleared ultimately, but then booked in jail and released after posting $7,000 bond. So now's time for the fun time. Go ahead and open that headshot there, Glenn. See what this pretty lady looks like.
Exactly what I pictured.
By the way, her picture and the aforementioned pastor's picture are both going to be in the show notes.
And she just looks like, I didn't get it, and I'm still pissed. That's the face she has.
Absolutely. All right, so now with
I didn't get any, and I got arrested, and now I'm really pissed.
So with all the details now at hand, with the headshot now in view, okay, time to guess, Glenn, what you think?
Oh, it has to be Florida.
Ding, 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 ding. You're right. Story number 2, also from Florida. This one in Lady Lake. So, yeah.
By the way, when I'm really bored in Ocala, on the Ocala.com website, they have all the mugshots of everybody that's been arrested in Ocala and what they did. And I go through and you see the picture before you see what they did. And I go through and I look at the pictures and then I try and guess what they were arrested for. Boy, there are some very unattractive people in this world.
I have to see that. That sounds like a new... Listen, that actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to list that as a thing to do on florida.com/coronavirus.
Can I
FloridaPodcastNetwork.com.
It's really entertaining. Can I tell you that people that have complete face tattoos or multiple face tattoos should not commit crimes? It's kind of easy to identify you.
I've actually seen someone have a face tattoo that says murderer. Like, all right, let's not make this too easy.
Kind of hard to hide.
I know. All right, so we've had 2 stories, both of which have taken place in Florida. So now there's one story left, and the question is always Florida or not. So, all right, last but not least, I bring you audio from an official government meeting, part of a local government. I don't know if it's Florida local, but it's a local government meeting. So small town, maybe. But you'll hear that things can get pretty heated. Go ahead and play that first clip.
I'm sorry. And that's not how calling the question works. You need a second and you need to vote on it.
Then I have a second for calling the question.
So are you telling me that you're going to keep me from talking right now?
You've talked all evening.
Look here. You're calling me disrespectful because I've interrupted people, but this gentleman has turned off people's lights in the middle of a global health pandemic. That's what that gentleman did.
Point of order.
And you think I'm disrespectful for interrupting you?
Point of order.
This gentleman has had the ability to do any number of things. We could have put a moratorium on utility shutoffs.
I recessed.
Also not within your power, and the attorney has held that that's true.
I recessed the meeting.
Wow.
I'm not getting my way. I'm out of here.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So the guy you heard there that was really pissed off, apparently the commissioner, he was angry because some people's, in case you didn't catch it, their electricity had been shut off during the pandemic. So he was pretty pissed off. Well, it gets
I'm kind of with the commissioner there.
Thank you. Right? Well, it gets even crazier from there. Go ahead and play the second clip.
Oh, she came back in with boxing gloves.
You'll hear.
This is a banana republic, is what you're turning this place into with your so-called leadership.
Does a recess mean that we will be?
Yes. Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this.
Camera on that?
I don't care anything about this. We should have been talking about this last week.
Can we?
We cut off people's utilities this week and made them pay what could have been their last check to us to turn their lights on in a global health pandemic. But you don't care about that, and you didn't want to meet. But every other year, you go around and beg people for their votes.
Ooh.
I mean, amen, brother, right? All right. Time to guess. What's your guess? Just straight off, what's your guess?
I'm going with a three for here today. I'm going for the triple play. I'm going for Florida, and my guess is it's down your way someplace.
You sense my
like
pride.
Broward,
Yes.
West Palm Beach.
Lake Worth Beach. Yes, that was Commissioner Omari Hardy speaking up for the people. I'm holding my fist in the air right now, guys. I'm so excited. That sounded amazing. But let me tell you, Glenn.
Where'd you say that Lake Worth?
Lake Worth Beach.
That's right by your house.
It's right by my house. In fact, I think that was one of the beaches that you and I went to with Jordan.
Yes.
We took him there one day. Yeah. But the funniest thing about the entire scene, because I watched the whole clip and I was like, wow, holy cow. The funniest thing about the whole, and by the way, I'll, of course, include a link in the show notes, but the funniest thing was this one singular, like, calm grandpa voice. Just asking for a recess.
He had to pee.
Play the extra clip. It's hilarious.
I have to go to the bathroom, guys.
Can we explain
But
a
you care
recess?
more about your relationship with that guy than you care about the relationship with the people who don't go to work in this building.
Order, you were gone.
I think anybody cares.
Does a recess mean that we can reconvene tonight? Yes. Or okay, is that in 5 minutes or?
It's when the chair comes back.
My guess is she walked out.
Recess. Oh yeah, she did.
Did she come back? Whatever happened?
Oh, she came back, but that's where the clip ended that I found. So I don't know what else happened, but holy cow. This pandemic is making people lose their minds. But I don't
know what though? Good for him.
Yes.
He should have said all that stuff.
Yes. 100.
These meetings are too orderly anyway. We need to be more like England.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. But yeah, that was insanity. But man, that guy deserves, as soon as this pandemic gets over, I'm taking that guy to lunch. That was awesome. Well, thanks for coming along with us once again as we continue finding Florida, even in the midst of this outbreak. During this time, we at FPN will be doing everything we can to keep our community's spirits up. We'll be sharing loads of content across all of our shows to get through this time together. And please also join us in our Facebook group, FPN Insiders. Head over there and check out the Facebook Live we all just did to check in on everybody and share some fun announcements. Then head to floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus for resources and information local to you, ideas for the inside, coping while cooped up, and more. That's floridapodcastnetwork.com/coronavirus.
If you know of any cool news, especially of the positive or extra goofy sort, you know, the kind we like, to help in our lighten our moods, then email Jemmy at JAIME@floridapodcastnetwork.com.
And even with social distancing, you can still hang out with us on social media. Just search for Find FL Podcast.
And here's to your next Florida adventure in your living room. Until the next time.
Stupid coronavirus.